Alright, Shalom. I'd like to say all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yehoshai, Bahashem Makar Kadesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, or the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen, but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yehoshai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Zakalia, and I'm a prophet sent from Yahweh Shemishai to let you all know of the things that are to come, to let you all know of the Lord's prophecies, the Lord's judgments, and the Lord's mercies. And we're heading into the time of great judgment, man, but also the time of great mercy, all right? Because there's going to be mercy for the nation of Israel, specifically the elect of the nation of Israel. But there's also going to be great judgment that is coming, man, sent from Yahweh Shemishai to judge the wicked, unbelieving, unrepentant of our people, which in America is deemed as the 2/3. And then the rest of you Israelites around the world, man, y'all are just the wicked Israelites, all right? But the 2/3 are wicked as well. You have the prophecies that are at hand, such as the microchip, which is the mark of the beast. This is the biggest prophecy at the doorsteps right now. This is the major prophecy to look towards, man, because once this prophecy is fulfilled, then can the salvation and the destruction come. The mark of the beast prophecy has to fulfill first. So all eyes on it, man. All right? And the mark of the beast has been the trending topic, which is really the spirit of Yahweh Shemishai putting it out there in the world to make the world continuously talk about and bring up this mark of the beast prophecy, whether it is that they understand it fully or not, whether it is that they are Israelite or not. The Lord is allowing the spirits around the world to speak about this prophecy, and that speaks to the times that we're in. It is very close. You have the prophecy of Jacob's trouble, which is a time like never before upon us as a nation. This prophecy we're on the brink of. If it's that it's not already here. All right? You have the famine of the word prophecy, which is a warning unto the nation of Israel that this word is going to be taken away from you soon. And this is also at the doorstep. With Jacob's trouble will come famine and pestilence and judgment by way of the sword. The Lord says that there are spirits that are created for vengeance. So we're going to be seeing and experiencing all kinds of things, man, that are deemed unprecedented, or that it hasn't happened in X amount of years, decades. You know, we're in that time. You have the persecution that is coming of the Israelites, and especially the elect of the nation of Israel, man. The prophets of Yahweh Shemishai, our persecution is coming. Those that are standing firmly and boldly in the name of Yahweh Shemishai. You have the World War III prophecy, which is building up day in, day out. And at the end of World War III is going to be the destruction of America, which is Mr. Babylon the Great, which is when the ICBM missiles will be shot towards America. And then Yahushua is going to return to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel from the four corners of the earth, and the 1/3 from America, the elect. And then 2/3 of our people in America are going to be destroyed. And America is going to be destroyed by the thermonuclear fire. Yahushua is going to aid in that destruction. And then the kingdom begins. So we have a lot of things that are on the table, a lot to look forward to as well. Those of us that are in this truth, man, because we're very close. These are extremely exciting times. As the scriptures say, to measure the time diligently. And let me get that. Second Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay? So we measure the time diligently. And how do you do that? Well, firstly, you have to be in this truth. And you have to have the full and correct doctrine, the full truth. And that starts with the elder apostle Tahar of Great Millstone, man. All right, who I believe is a leader set up in this period of time to lead us. All right? This is just the way that Yahweh Shemishai has set it up. This is the order of things. All right? So, we have the truth, all of us who, you know, believe in the full correct doctrine, and then knowing this truth and knowing the prophecies, we know what's going to happen. We don't know every single thing, right? Every single part of what's going to happen, but we do know based off of the scriptures certain critical events, the prophecies. And so knowing that these prophecies are going to come to pass, we observe the times, we observe what is going on in the world, we observe current events, and then we relate it to Bible prophecy, right? We check what's going on. So when it is that we're seeing the mark of the beast prophecy being developed, the systems being developed behind it, we can boldly declare that we're close to the end. When we see the nations rising up against one another, and especially those that are spoken about in Bible prophecy regarding World War III, acting up and, you know, having geopolitical tensions among one another, we can speak to World War III. When it is that we're looking at the food supply chain and the ramifications of such pestilences such as the bird flu, how it has affected the food supply chain regarding the eggs, and then the food insecurity that has been reported in America, that is something like over 90% of the people suffering from food insecurity. You know, all of these different types of events that are happening around the world, the uptake of the pestilences continuously being reported on, from the bird flu to the Henipa virus, to the Ebola virus, to the bubonic plague, to the quademic that they've spoken about, and the other long list of pestilences that have been mentioned this year. These are all signs of the end. All right? We look at what's going on in the world, man, and then we report on every single thing, and we report also on the warning of Jacob's trouble, right? So this is how you measure the time diligently. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So these are two signs: uproars of the people around the world and earthquakes. And these are both very frequent occurrences. Who got hit? I think I seen yesterday somebody got hit by a 7.6 earthquake. Let me double check it. You see, if you Google earthquake into Google, right? The Philippines. Okay, well, wow. Okay, so the Philippines got hit with a 7.4 earthquake on October 9th. Today's date is October 11th, 2025. So 2 days ago, they got hit with a 7.4 earthquake. And then today, this morning, at 9:32, not even an hour ago, they got hit with another earthquake, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake. So they get in judgment. All right. Today as well, this morning, Russia has been hit with a 5.8 earthquake. And then yesterday as well, a 7.6 earthquake hit Argentina, right off the coast of Argentina, diverse places, earthquakes in diverse places. In the Philippines, another one hit a 6.0. The Philippines been getting judged, man. A 6.0, a 7.4, and a 6.1, a 6.7. This is devastating. All right, imagine going through this. All right, Papua New Guinea 6.3. The Philippines again, the 5.9 on October 9th. Russia at 6.1. China at 5.5. And you know what? There's a website. There's a website called which shows you the latest earthquakes. And right now the report is, as of the day, which is the past 24 hours, magnitude earthquakes of 2.5 and above. There is a list of 4 to 6 earthquakes. 4 to 6 earthquakes have hit in the past 24 hours. And they're of various magnitudes, man. Very powerful earthquakes. This is a sign of the end. And they're happening continuously. They're not stopping, and they won't stop until Yahushua returns, man. All right, all of these things, you see, these types of judgments that are happening, they're not going to stop until the kingdom of heaven is established. So we're in that period of time of great hell coming to the earth. Okay? So it says uproars of the people, and the uproars of the people, man, you know, I seen, you know, a brother did a video the other day, right? And I took a screenshot of it because of the multitude of uproars around the people around the world happening, right? The uproars of the people, which is the protest. We have a lot of protests going on. So, you know, just from the image, there are protests that have recently happened in Brussels, Belgium, Lyon, France, London, England, Paris, France, Glasgow, Scotland, Amman, Jordan, Chicago, USA, Lisbon, wherever that is, Bilbao, Spain, Dublin, Ireland, Berlin, Germany, Barcelona, Spain, Copenhagen, Denmark, Malaga, Spain, Tunis, Tunisia, Seville, wherever that is, Frankfurt, Germany, Toulouse, France, Edinburgh, Scotland, The Hague, Netherlands, Antwerp, Belgium, New York, USA, and then 2 others that I can't make out regarding the screenshot, but it's a lot, all right? It's a lot of protests around the world, and you know, it speaks to the times. It speaks to the end of the rulership of the so-called white man, who are the current rulers today, the Edomites, right? They are the biblical Edomites, and their forefathers Esau, and this is their blessing, the fatness of the earth, the dew of heaven, and by the sword will he rule. All right, so this is Esau's wicked kingdom, and the scriptures talk to it. It lets us know why. All right, the people are uproaring, so I'll get that as well, man. All right, because these are the current times that we are in. All right, Psalms 12 and verse 8, the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. All right, so the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted, because, you know, it shows you the people all around us are extremely wicked, because the wicked are in rulership, and the wicked, being in rulership, they're in the position of power. They establish their way of life. They establish their laws of their kind, and they're the wicked, right? The Edomites are the wicked, so they establish wicked rules. It's that wicked rulership. So they promote all kinds of abominable lifestyles and abominable foods, and they go completely against Yahweh Shemishai. All right, the scriptures say it, man, in the book of Psalms 73 and verse 9, they set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. So that they set their mouth against the heavens, which means that they are against the ways of the heavens, which is the ways of Yahweh Shemishai, the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shemishai, which are the ways of righteousness. So they are against righteousness, as they are the wicked, right? They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth, right? So they promote their wickedness. So the people take on to these vile, wicked ways, and so the wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. Okay, and then as well, Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. And actually, I intended to go there, but the Spirit led me to the Psalms 12, you know, to further show you, man, because, you know, the people are so wicked, and then the behavior of the people also speaks to the last days, and I'll get that as well. All right, but I'm going to get this first in Proverbs 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So the wicked are bearing rule, man, the so-called white man, the biblical Edomites. All right, they're bearing rule. This is their kingdom. So the people are in mourning, and that's why they're protesting. Everybody's protesting. It's not just the Israelites who are in captivity that are protesting. Everyone is protesting. The heathen are protesting as well. And you have even Edomites that are protesting in their own kingdom. Because what the Edomites are feeling is that they're feeling a transition and a loss of power. Things aren't how they used to be for them. You see, us in this lifetime, you know, we were born into the state of being. You know, the curses have been upon us. You know what I'm saying? So we were born into it. But Esau, he was born into his blessing, right, in this period of time. And so what they have noticed, what they have realized, and what they felt within themselves and their spirit is the deterioration of their kingdom, whether they know it or not, right? They can feel the changing of them losing power, of them losing rulership, right? Whether it is that they know about the Bible or, you know what I mean, like what it is, you know? There's something happening, which is a transition from one kingdom to another, and it is the transition from Esau's kingdom to our kingdom. So they're out there protesting because their lifestyle isn't how it used to be. They're starting to live just like us, all right? And we're suffering under the curses, and they're in their rulership. But this is what is happening, man. And so they're out there uproaring. They're upset. They're mad. They're like, we're not able to eat anymore the way we used to eat. We're not able to live anymore the way that we live. All right? They're suffering. You have Edomites who are bringing in six-figure numbers in US dollars, you know, a two-person household, a man and woman, all right? And they're bringing in, let's say, 80K each. And that's about 160K. Let's call that take home. And they're struggling, man. You know, they maybe got 2 or 3 kids or whatever. They're struggling, all right? And this is something that they're not familiar with. As I said, we were born into this. So this is par for the course. We've been through this. We've been, you know, living through this. But Edomites, they've never. So when you actually look at the uproars of the people around the world, and you look at the people protesting, you'll often see that they're white-looking people. You see, and they're not only white-looking people, but these protests are happening in Edomite sovereign countries. It speaks to the times, man. It speaks to the end of Esau's world. All right, and then going back to the behavior of the people, man. All right, the wicked walk on every side when the violent men are exalted, because the wicked are in rulership. You know, the people are in an uproar, right? But then, as I said, it speaks to the days that we're in, these last days, right? Second Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1 says, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come." The last days, right? So some people may actually be wondering, what do you mean by the last days? Why do you say what's the last days? The last days are the rulership of the so-called white man, because in the book of Daniel it talks about, you know, the kingdom, we're at the last leg, right, of the vision that Nebuchadnezzar saw, right? We're at the feet, where the kingdom was partly strong and partly broken. The iron mixed with miry clay, right? So, and what he saw and what was interpreted by the prophet Daniel is that all of those kingdoms would fall and perish, but the kingdom that is to come, which is the kingdom of the Israelites, will have an perpetual eternal rulership, man. All right, so there will be no last days for the kingdom of the Israelites, which is also going to be a kingdom governed by righteousness, by the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Shemishai. And so when the righteous are in authority, the people will be rejoicing. All right, so it's a completely different rulership, a completely different era, a completely different lifestyle that is coming. All right, so the last days are talking about the last days of this wicked rulership, the last days of Esau's kingdom. Okay, so the scriptures also say, and I'll get it, in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7, it says, "Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Alright, so Esau is the end of the world, and this is Esau's kingdom, man. Alright, so this is Esau's final kingdom. This is his last big one, right? And so the kingdom of heaven is coming next. Alright, so in the last days, going back to 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady-minded, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of Yahweh. So this is the spirit upon the people, man. The spirit upon you Israelites. Okay? Y'all don't care about Yahweh Shemishai. You rather worship false gods and false idols. Alright, and the Lord has been warning you Israelites, man, to repent from these ways, to turn from these ways. Alright, and to return to our power and to have faith in our power. It's all about faith. Alright, it's not about, you know, your deeds and your actions and keeping the law. No, it's all about faith in Yahweh Shemishai. And so with faith, then your actions follow suit, because then you will have the fear of Yahweh Shemishai upon you. Alright, but then also being in the chains of darkness, we will still go off. So there's a battle at hand, a spiritual battle that we must go through. Alright, those of us in this truth. But you Israelites out there, man, y'all not in that type of fight. Y'all willingly, you know what I'm saying, happily rather, okay, happily, okay, worship these false gods and these false idols and break the laws of Yahweh Shemishai and commit all kinds of abominable acts, man. You guys do it happily. You do it not only happily and proudly, but you also seek to do it. You know what I'm saying? You want to do it. You want to fulfill the lusts of the flesh. You're happy to do so. And so when it is that Yahweh Shemishai is telling you to turn away from these ways, to not fulfill the lusts of the flesh the best that you can, to tap into the spirit, to repent, you people don't want to do that. You actually don't want to, and I've witnessed it. Our people do not want to stop committing and, you know, committing abominable acts. They really don't want to. They want to keep on being filthy. And so the Lord is going to judge them, man. Alright, so going back to the 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. Alright, it says, for like us in verse 2nd Ezra 9 and verse 5, for like us all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Right, the last days, perilous time shall come. The end is manifest. The end of Esau's kingdom is manifesting in front of our faces. And so the prophecies are at hand. Alright, which is actually also a very joyous thing for us, because the dominion of the wicked is coming to an end, man. And so many things are going to be happening. Alright, it says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And so that speaks to all of the different things that we've been seeing that have been deemed unprecedented. Alright, and then the signs that we've been seeing regarding the scriptures of what is the end. Alright, all of these things are at hand, man. Okay, the scriptures say, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. He's talking about the elect, man. The elect of the nation of Israel, the remnant to be saved. Yahweh Shemishai. Yahweh Shemishai chose the elect from the foundations of the earth. Ephesians chapter 1. Wow. I'm looking for the precept but can't find it. Maybe it will come a little later. Ephesians 1 and verse 4. I'll start at verse 3. Blessed be the power and Father of our Lord Yahushua, whose name is Yahweh, who hath blessed us with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Yahushua, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love, having predestinated us into the adoption of children by Yahushua to himself according to the good pleasure of his will. Alright, so there it is, man. Alright, so the elect were chosen from the foundation, man. So you cannot choose to be a part of the elect. You are simply a part of the elect. Alright, so that's what it is. And it's all about the elect, man, because we're coming into some very terrible times. And you know, the scriptures say in the book of Mark chapter 13 and verse 20, and except those I'll start at verse Mark chapter 13 and verse 19. For in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation, which Yahweh Shemishai created unto this time, neither shall be, right? Which is speaking to Jacob's trouble, right? This is what is coming upon us, man, as a nation. And except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, but for the elect's sake whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days. So Jacob's trouble is upon us, and the Lord says that the days are going to be shortened, which speaks to how terrible the days are going to be. That it says, and except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved, right? If the days aren't shortened, then there will be no flesh left to be saved. Why? Because the Lord is going to be unleashing his sword, man. And who is the Lord's sword? Okay, the Lord's sword in the book of Psalms chapter 17 and verse 13, it says, Arise, O Lord Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked. Which is thy sword. And who is the wicked? The Edomites, who are these so-called white people. Alright? So they're the ones in rulership. And then what else? Esau was given the blessing of the sword. Let's just get that straight to the point. In Genesis chapter 27, because I've mentioned it so many times, man, let's read it out. Genesis chapter 27 and verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, talking to Esau, right? That's set at verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing? My father bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above, and by thy sword shalt thou live. Right? So he would have rulership, which this is what we're suffering through right now. And by the sword shalt thou live. And so the so-called white man has lived by way of the sword, which the sword is anything that can be used to destroy, right? He's lived that way. When you look at their history, the way that they have dominated is by way of murdering and pillaging and committing mass genocide against people, man. That's how they established their rulership, and they're still doing it. Nothing's changed. They're still doing it. All right? This Edomite creature cannot help himself. Okay? And shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So, you know, where the Israelites were supposed to be, you know, our blessing is the rulership, you know, we're the rightful rulers, but, you know, we're under the curses. This is how Yahweh Shemishai has written it to be. And so now we're in the period of time where the wicked, the so-called white man, is in rulership. He has broken the dominion off of his, the yoke off of his neck and put it on us, right? So we're, you know, slaves to him. But all of this is just for a period of time. You know, this is not an eternal, perpetual, everlasting blessing. Okay, and so knowing that, you know, Esau's kingdom is coming to an end. All right, it says it in the book of Job, chapter 14 and verse 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So Esau's kingdom was always set to expire. It was always set to come to an end. And now we're approaching that end. And since we're approaching that end, we're going to be experiencing these final prophecies to come to pass. And Jacob's trouble is upon us, man. All right, so I was speaking about, you know, that Esau is the Lord's sword, and that in going back to Mark 13 and verse 20, and except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake, whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days. So the Lord chose the elect, and the Lord is going to shorten the days for the elect's sake. So you see, once it is that certain things start to kick off regarding Bible prophecy, it's going to be happening very quickly, especially once the mark of the beast prophecy, which is a microchip, comes to pass. Then it's only a matter of time before the salvation and the destruction. All right, because we're heading into Jacob's trouble. All right, the scriptures say this. In Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So the devil is the so-called white man. The devil meaning deceiver. He's a great deceiver, man. All right, he's deceived the world into believing all kinds of lies and fallacies. All right, but this is what they do. This is a part of, you know, how they establish their power. They not only murder and commit mass genocide and destroy people, but they put out lies and deception. So you see certain things that could even happen, let's say a decade ago, Esau will run a different narrative, man. You know, if this world were to go, you know, which it isn't, right? But, you know, based on how they've operated in the past, you know, some modern day individuals who look like, you know, Israelites who, you know, do certain things or whatever, you know, they would eventually change the image of the person and the history. They would whitewash that person. And they've done it before. They've done it to the likes of some of these people in the past who have come about. They've whitewashed them. All right? King David is an example of that, actually. They whitewashed King David. They whitewashed a lot of the rulers and stuff like that, you know, and they changed the history. So this is a part of their deception, man. They made the world to believe that they're the ones who created certain inventions and stuff like that, but it was actually, you know, Israelites who did it, and then they claimed the works of our people, man, and then they changed the image of the person. So they're very deceptive. They do this kind of stuff. All right, they will easily change history to their own liking. This man is very dangerous, man. The Edomite is a very dangerous creature. You just don't know what is true. Okay, and not knowing what is true is a very terrible state of being to be in, man. It's a very horrible life to live. Okay? Because it leaves you in a state of confusion continuously. But he's coming with great wrath because he knows that he hath but a short time. Alright? And that great wrath, man, is coming because Trump is starting to make some moves upon our people in America. Alright? This is the devil, man. He's making his move. Right? And he's coming with that great wrath. So Jacob's trouble is upon us. And let me read Jacob's trouble. Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 4. And these are the words that the Lord Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah, talking about the northern kingdom and southern kingdom respectively. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear and not of peace. Ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Which is talking about the level of fear that the Lord is going to be bringing upon this world. Alright? Because men don't have children. And we know what it is that women go through when they have children, the excruciating pain. Alright? And then faces turned into paleness, which speaks to the level of fear. Alright? A very high level of fear is when you're actually stunned, when you're petrified, where you can't move. They say when the blood rushes from your face, it's not about running up and down and screaming. You know what I'm saying? True fear is when you can't even move. And some people will be giving up the ghost, man, from the fearful things that are coming from the Lord. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So, he that will be saved out of it is the elect of the nation of Israel. The one, you know, who will be saved by Yahweh Shemishai. The one who the days are shortened for. Alright? Because these terrible, chaotic times are at hand. And Trump is targeting our people. Not this week, but the week before. He was talking about how he needs to target the enemy within. And he's not talking about his own people that are committing all of those mass shootings in America and all of the fraud and all of the crime and everything that they do, because everybody knows that the so-called white man is the biggest criminal on earth. And if you don't see that, you're just an idiot. All of these things that they do over there, the murdering sprees and everything, they're still hanging our people in America, by the way. Everything that they do, man, it's not about targeting them. You know, the bomb scares and all that kind of stuff. It's them that do it. He's talking about targeting you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans when he's talking about the enemy within. Alright, and we ourselves must remember the enemy at hand. According to the scriptures, according to the Bible, in Psalms chapter 83, it says in verse 1, a song or a psalm of Asaph, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh Shemishai, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh Shemishai. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So there are enemies that hate the Lord and his son. And remember that there are two separate entities. The Father's name is Yahweh and the Son's name is Yahushai. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. So these enemies have taken crafty counsel against the Lord's people, who are the Israelites, us, and consulted against thy hidden ones, and we've been hidden. Because the Edomites coming into rulership, they hid who we really are. What does it say in the book of Job chapter 9 and verse 24? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked, and we know who the wicked are, the so-called white man, the Edomites. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? So who are the judges? Us. Because we're the true rulers, we're the true kings and priests and gods. And he covered the faces of the judges, he covered the faces of the Israelites. naming us all kinds of different things, calling us black, Negroes, and whatever else he wants to call us, which is a part of the curses upon us, that we will be called a byword and a proverb. So that identification shows you who we are, right? And he lied to the world, man, to make the world think and believe that we're nothing when we are everything. Okay? So we're those hidden ones. Psalms 83 and verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So Esau and the rest of the heathen, the so-called Chinese, the so-called Arabs, the so-called Japanese, the so-called Pacific Islander, and those people aboriginal to Australia, all right, the so-called white man, all of the heathen, man, they are against our people. They are aligned with one another. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So they're against us. And you can see that they're against us by how they treat us. You can see even out here in Jamaica, how the heathen treat our people like garbage. Alright? And all around the world, the heathen treat our people the worst because they're against us. Then the scriptures outline the list of them. It says the tabernacles of Edom, who is the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, who are the so-called Arabs, of Moab, which is the so-called Chinese, and the Hagarenes, Jabal and Ammon. Ammon is the so-called Japanese, and Amalek, which is the so-called white man. So the scriptures mention him twice. Now Amalek is the head tribe of Esau, who are the so-called Ish people, the Jewish people, the 1948 of the small hats. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, which is talking about the Africans. Because we are not the Africans, they're a separate nation from us. The Africans are the Hamites. We're the Israelites, we come from Shem, they come from Ham. Alright? Those Africans, like the Sudanese people, those are not our people, man. They're a separate nation and they are against us. They have been a part of our destruction. Asir also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot Selah. So the entire list of the heathen are against us, and the Lord lists them as our enemies. So knowing that Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is an enemy to Yahweh Shemishai, our power, and to the Israelites, us, then you know what it is when Trump is declaring about fighting the enemy within, talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And he's been targeting our people as well. I mean, the Edomites, they've been targeting our people since they came into rulership. All right, but speaking to recent times with the whole ICE thing and the whole immigration thing, take notice to the fact that he's not targeting white people, you know what I'm saying, from places like Europe or South Africa or any other country, right? You can have white people from South America going to America. He's not targeting them. He's targeting literal Latinos, Northern Kingdom, all right, of the nation of Israel, right? And from what I've seen, all of the videos that I've seen, it's only Latinos that have been targeted and Negroes have been targeted. And it's not about the origin of the country, because as I just said, you have white people that are coming from Mexico, Argentina, Cuba, okay, Haiti, various places around the world, and it's not about deporting them. Trump also declared that any white people in South Africa that are having problems in South Africa, because there is a situation over there in South Africa where Edomites are being targeted, okay, by the inhabitants there, right, which is a mixture of Israelites and a mixture of Hamites. So he's saying that, you know, if the white South Africans want to immigrate to America, that they're free to go there. So it's clear to see the situation at hand, okay? Then he's been targeting the Negroes as well, okay? Talking about like the Jamaicans there and the Haitians there in America, a few months ago talking about deporting them as well from America. He's been targeting our people, but now it's getting to a point where it's not just about pushing our people out of the country, that country, but also targeting them in a violent way. In Chicago recently, the south side of Chicago, an entire apartment building was targeted, and I do believe that the south side of Chicago is the ghetto. And you know what happens in the ghetto? All right, that's where our people are predominantly, man. Okay, our people dwell. Okay, it's mostly our people, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. So that was a targeted hit, and when they targeted that building, it wasn't just about whoever they claimed were criminals. They targeted everybody that looked a certain type of way, right? And everybody was pulled out of the building. They didn't care about if it was man, woman, or child, right? The report says that it happened in the late of the night, that there were babies and children who were literally naked sleeping, and they pulled them out of the apartment buildings naked and put them in shackles. So remember that this is a nation that has no care or no love towards our people, man. And they view us as the enemy. And the Lord lets us know that they are enemies to the Lord and to the nation of Israel, to us. Right? And the scriptures say to remember thy enemy, man. Alright, let me get it. Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right? So never trust thine enemy. So the Lord lets you know that the heathen are our enemies, so you're not to trust any of them. Whatever solution it is that the so-called white man presents to you, when it is him that creates these chaotic situations, right? It is not for your benefit. You have to remember the creature that we're dealing with, man, and the hate that he has towards our people. The scriptures say that they have a perpetual hatred towards us, which actually goes back to the book of Genesis. So let me get it straight to the point, right? Because when our forefather Jacob supplanted their forefather Esau for the blessing, which was supposed to happen anyway, Esau made a statement. So let me read that statement. So in Genesis chapter 27 and verse 41, it says, and Esau hated Jacob. So the forefather of the so-called white man hates our forefather. Remember, he's the progenitor of the Edomites, man, the nation of these so-called white people. So, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. So the so-called white man said that he would slay his brother Jacob, which is us. And they've had that same spirit upon them since that time. And it has never left, and it will never leave as well. This is how they're programmed. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Right? Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days until thy brother's fury turn away, which it never turned away. Until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget. Okay? So it never did, because the scriptures let us know that the so-called white man has a perpetual hatred towards us. In the book of Ezekiel, and verse 35, it says in verse 1, moreover the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Now Mount Seir is the dwelling place, the land of Edom, right? Where Esau once dwelt, where his descendants came from, right? And that's in the Hebrew word Sha'ayar, all right? Mount Seir. So he's talking about the so-called white man. So the Lord says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Because remember, the Lord is against him, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. All right? And I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahweh. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sit thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee, right? So we know the judgment that's going to come for these Edomites, man. As the scripture says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So when it is that Yahushua returns, they're going into slavery under the Israelites for 1,000 years, and then after that they're going to be done away with as a nation. All right, but right now they're still here, and we're in the period of time where they're coming with great wrath. So they have a perpetual hatred against us, man. All right, and it never left. All right. So Trump, when he's talking about the enemy within, he's talking about our people, and now he's talking about the Insurrection Act in America. In current events, Trump Insurrection Act, 3 days ago. Trump administration officials seriously discussing invoking Insurrection Act, sources say. A decision isn't expected to be imminent, one source said, but debate within the administration has shifted recently to more deeply exploring how and when the act might be invoked. And they want to invoke the Insurrection Act because they're talking about the enemy within. So this thing is really just is heating up. All right? This is a target onto the nation of Israel, man. Okay? So what is the Insurrection Act? The Insurrection Act of 1807 is the U.S. federal law that empowers the President of the United States to nationally deploy the U.S. military and to federalize the National Guard units of the individual states in specific circumstances, such as the suppression of civil disorder or insurrection and of armed rebellion against the federal government of the United States. So this is very serious. Because it's saying that it can be done for civil disorder and insurrection and armed rebellion, which this is something that they can easily set up, and they already have set up. Things like Black Lives Matters is nothing but a setup, all right, run by the so-called white man. That's not to your benefit. A part of his motto is order out of chaos. Order Abkil. Never let a good crisis go to waste. So what the wicked elite of Esau Edom does, which is the elite bankers, they create chaotic situations and then offer a solution to it. Just like the C19. And they offered a solution to it, which they wanted to see how many people were willing to comply to them if a so-called catastrophic worldwide event was happening. And he could see the many idiots around the world, especially of our people, that accepted the solution that Esau provided during the C19. And now you can see all of the reports that are being brought out by they themselves. You see, this is how the devil works, man. Because during the time, he was blocking all of the content and all of the information talking about what it is that this solution that he offered can do to people. Now it is that they're putting it out there in their actual reports on mainstream media, all of the same things that were spoken about, that they were calling conspiracy theories at that time. Now you have a whole bunch of people who accepted that solution during the C19, which was that V, and you have a whole bunch of people that are dropping dead and experiencing all kinds of illnesses. You have a whole bunch of healthy athletes who took it, who had no issues before, and they're dropping dead. So this man is not to be trusted. Any kind of solution that he offers for some kind of chaotic situation at hand, he's not to be trusted. And what is the one that is coming up, the big one? The mark of the beast, which is that microchip. He's going to be bringing another chaotic situation to the world, man, to establish his new world order. And at the forefront of that new world order is his microchip. And you can see it all happening, man. The entire world is transforming to a digital society. They call it the fourth industrial revolution, the intelligence age. Everything is going digital. They're going towards a cashless society. They're getting rid of the cash money. And they're launching central bank digital currencies worldwide. Which, out here in Jamaica, as small and worthless as this country is, being a third world country, Jamaica has launched the central bank digital currency, which is a digital currency, the first in the world to launch it as legal tender. This is a step heading towards the mark of the beast, man, because the microchip is going to be the main form of payment. So they're transforming the current monetary system to a digital payment system. So Jamaica has launched the central bank digital currency, and Jamaica has launched the digital ID, which will become mandatory soon, because we've seen it in the UK, where now, in order to work in the UK, you have to be a part of the system. You have to have a digital ID. The other day in one of the countries, the Asian countries, I think it was either Vietnam or Nepal, they blocked everyone from their bank accounts, forcing people to sign up for the digital ID in that location, or else they can't use their bank accounts. This is where it's all heading towards, man. So things are going to start getting tight. And do not forget the famine that is on the way, which you Israelites who refuse to repent and to return to our power, you're going to be dying of famine and pestilence and all kinds of things, and you're going to be witnessing your family and your loved ones dying. People that you care about that refuse to return to our power, the Lord is going to destroy them. And you people think this is a joke, you people think this is a game, but all of the signs are there, literally, that it is going to happen soon. It is going to happen in this lifetime. So y'all can keep playing around, man. Okay? But these chaotic times are coming. And so in Revelation chapter 6, and I'll go to verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and that red horse is talking about the so-called white man Esau Edom. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So he has his blessing, which is that great sword, and he will take peace from earth. Revelation 6 and verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Right? And that pale horse, which is coming, is Esau Edom. Right? This situation. And so it says, that he's bringing death and hell, right? So mass death is coming. And hell, which hell is about being in a situation that's unfavorable. There's no place that people go to and burning in hell. That's false doctrine by the Christians who are bugged out. They also worship a false god and a false image. The image of so-called Jesus Christ. A white image with long hair, which long hair is against the scriptures. A man shouldn't have long hair. So that's an abominable image that has been set up for our people to worship and, you know, to idolize. Hell is a condition of being. So the Lord is going to use the so-called white man to bring about hell to this earth. And he's going to be bringing hell to this earth to establish his new world order. Followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, which is talking about America, to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. So this is what is coming, man. To kill with sword and with hunger. So famine. And we know that famine is a major tool that the wicked elite of Esau Edom is going to be using, because they've already said it. They've shown it in their media, which is a part of their witchcraft on the left-hand side. Right? There are a bunch of warlocks and witches. And it's called the method of revelation, or revelation of method, where what they do is that they show you in their media, their television shows, their movies, the print media as well, etc., their plans on what they're going to do. They let you know what they're going to do before they do it, right? And so we know that they're going to be, they admitted it, they said that they're going to be using famine as a very powerful tool to bring about their order, their new world order. And it's going to be one of the last things. And then the scriptures let us know that famine is something that we're to look out for regarding the end of times. Yahushua said it, all right, to look out for earthquakes in diverse places, famine, pestilences, rumors of wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And so we're experiencing all of these things. And really right now what is on the table to start happening is the famine in various different parts around the world. You have the famine in Gaza, which, you know, that's due to the war situation, but that's a famine. The people in Gaza have had to turn to eat turtle meat. And you people around the world in various different places think that you're not going to have to turn to such things. Out here in Jamaica, for example, Jamaica is a country that doesn't sustain itself. 90% of the food in Jamaica are brought in by ships. So when there's a famine and the ships stop coming to Jamaica, Jamaica is going to have to survive on the 10%. Within a week or 2 weeks, Jamaica will fall into turmoil and famine, collapse. And this is not just a situation for Jamaica, this is the situation for all of the countries around the world. The countries are not self-sufficient, okay? So when the ships start sailing and then the countries are saying they have to become self-sufficient because of the famine, Jamaica's finished, okay? Things are going to escalate very quickly in these final days. And so going back to the Insurrection Act, right? It speaks to what is coming in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15. So I'll start at verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. So prophecy is at hand, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. So our people speak against us for speaking the truth out of the Bible, and that's all we do. We just speak the truth out of the Bible, but they come against us because they rather live in this vile, wicked world, you know, living like this. They rather be pigs living in shit, in the pig pen, instead of accepting and embracing that they're gods and that the kingdom is for them. No, they would rather serve the so-called white man. They would rather be slaves to the so-called white man. Working 5 days, 6 or 7 days a week, hoping for the weekend to come. Rushing to do all these things on the weekend. You don't have any time. experiencing hell, living through sickness and death, aging, right? All of the pain and suffering that we suffer under the cancer, right? The migraines, everything, all of the illnesses that we go through. You people rather live in that than dwell with Yahweh Shemishai with the eternal glory and the promise. So this is why the Lord calls you stupid. The Lord says that you're such as children. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 22. For my people is foolish, they have not known me. So the Lord calls you stupid. They are such as children. Satish, which says the Hebrew word sakal, which is fool, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge, right? They rather commit abominable acts, man. They don't want to, you know, do righteously. They want to be wicked with Esau and the wicked. So guess what? They're going to have to die as well. Okay? They're going to have to perish. They'll come back in the kingdom and, you know, however things go from there, but right now it is going to be judgment by way of famine, pestilence, etc. Going back to 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. And this is talking to you Israelites, man, because only an Israelite can believe. Nothing changed, despite what the false doctrine of Christianity wants to teach you about everyone can be saved. No, not everyone can be saved. Alright? Because the scriptures say, right, that we are going to be delivered out of the hands of our enemies. So if everybody can be saved, who are the enemies that we're going to be delivered from? If everybody can be saved, it doesn't make any sense. Salvation is only for the nation of Israel. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So these things are coming. And today seems like a regular day. You know, people, it's like, oh, another Saturday for them. After a long, hard week of work, being slaves to the so-called white man, right? Today seems like a regular day, but guess what? One day, everything is just going to change just like that. And it is happening right now. So these are the final warnings from the Lord, man, because the famine of the word is coming, and eventually the prophets won't be on the highways and byways anymore, like what I'm doing right now, and you won't be able to get this word on the YouTube, the social media, which has been that unicorn to disperse the word. And then when that moment happens, you Israelites are going to be seeing all of these things happening, man, because the monetary system is also going to collapse to usher in the new monetary system, the digital payment system, and you know, with the microchip coming in behind it. So all kinds of things are going to be happening. So let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So there's going to be war, like a civil war in America. People are going to be fighting each other for all kinds of different reasons, because there's such confusion in the world. People are, you know, a blend and a mix-up of all kinds of different things, and amalgamation of different kinds of beliefs and everything. All right? So right now the state of the world is in a very chaotic state, because you rarely find two people who truly agree with one another perfectly. You know what I'm saying? But there's also tension that is rising for all kinds of different reasons in America, man, and the world. So people are going to be fighting against one another. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So you see all of these protests around the world, which the protests, according to the scriptures, is a sign of the end, the uproars of the people. Right? These protests are eventually just going to lead to a more chaotic situation where it's going to become every man for himself. You know, people are going to be living survival of the fittest. You know what I'm saying? Because with the chaos coming the pestilence, you know, people are going to be dying by way of disease en masse, right? People are going to be dying of famine en masse. People are going to be in a state where, you know, there won't be homes to live in. There won't be a bed to sleep in. It's going to be very chaotic times. And they're not going to have any regard for those that are their rulers. They're not going to listen to the police. They're not going to listen to the military. They're not going to listen to the mayors, the president, the prime minister, whoever, man. They're not going to listen to anybody, because they're going to be in such a state of being destitute that they're just going to go buck wild, man. And when people feel like they have nothing to lose, they just go crazy. And then our people won't have any faith in Yahweh Shemishai, so they won't be steady in the days that are coming. Because those of us that know and believe what is coming, we're going to be fine. As the scriptures say in Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6, it says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure." So wisdom and knowledge, right, of these scriptures, man. We know the prophecies, we know what's coming, we know why everything is happening, we know that Yahweh Shai is coming, we know that we must go through these things, all right? So it keeps us firm. And then stability here is the Hebrew word amawana, which goes into faith. So our faith is going to keep us firm in these last days. But for our people that don't believe, they're going to be calling upon their false gods and their false idols, and those things won't save them, because those things don't exist. So then it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." So that is martial law that is coming. So that's what the Insurrection Act is, martial law. And so now you can literally see in America, Trump is militarizing the different cities and states in America. Literally, it's happening in real time. He's moving the military to Washington, Chicago, and other places around America, because they're getting ready to do something, man. They're getting ready to establish their NWO. So the martial law is coming, and then martial law can come in this type of way, but martial law can also come by way of a medical martial law. And then the World Health Organization stated that another pandemic is coming. They said it already, another pandemic is coming. They said it's guaranteed to happen. They said they don't know when it's going to happen, if it's going to be tomorrow or next week or next year or 2 years down the line. But they said another pandemic is coming for sure. Now, the last pandemic, the claim of how people were perishing, we know the veracity of that. But the situation at hand is that the Lord is truly going to unleash a pestilence and disease that is truly going to be destroying the world and ravaging our people. And remember that Esau is the Lord's sword. Esau, the wicked elite of Esau Edom, wants to establish their new world order. They have a motto which is order out of chaos. They bring about these situations. So things are going to get critical, man, very soon. And what happens in America happens to the rest of the world. America is the main hub. America is Mystery Babylon the Great. America is the main hub of the Edomites. All right? So all of the other countries will feel whatever America is feeling. So martial law is coming. Concentration camps are coming as well. Guillotines are coming as well. Persecution is coming. All kinds of things. Okay? And man, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So people are going to be attacking one another, man, fighting one another, especially because of that famine. You know? And how do you think famine comes about? You're going to have certain people being affected first from the famine, such as the poor, right? The poor is going to be affected first, so they're going to be feeling the famine. Then the middle class, which the middle class really, that's gone, right? And then it's going to be the upper class. But who's going to be starving first? The poor people. And when the poor people are starving, you think that they're going to just sit in their homes and starve? They're going to go to the upper class neighborhoods and they're going to be attacking them for their food. And it's just going to be a domino effect, because the upper class individuals, you best believe that they also have their tools and weaponry to fight against such things. You know what I'm saying? So they're ready and they're armed to fight as well. So it's going to be chaotic, man. And this is going to be a situation all around the world. Okay? And the chaos is going to be so bad that what's going to happen? You're going to have these green zones and these sanctuary cities and these safe zones. And during the pandemic, they showed you that unless you had the V, like in Israel, right? The state of Israel, you weren't allowed to go to certain green zones over there if you didn't have the V. That was once again a trial run for what is to come for the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, right? So all of this chaos is coming to the world, and then they're going to tell you that unless you take this microchip, you won't be able to eat. You won't be able to have access to any of the medical services or anything like that. You're going to be shut out of the cities unless you take the microchip. And then our people are going to take the microchip, and then they're going to what? Going to be destroyed. So this is a warning at hand from the Lord, that if you take the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, that you're going to be destroyed. And then for you to not take the microchip, you're going to have faith in Yahweh Shemishai, that everything that is written within the scriptures is true. So then you Israelites, man, what the majority of you are going to do is that you're going to turn your back from our power, and you're going to turn to the so-called white man, and you're going to allow him to pierce your flesh and to inject a microchip into you, because you're going to feel the need to survive. But at that point in time, you would have turned your back towards Yahweh Shemishai, so you're going to be destroyed. Okay? Destroyed by thermonuclear fire. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 9 says, "And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand." So if you take the microchip, but also by taking the microchip, you declare an action. So we go to the word worship here at G4352 in the Greek. It says proskuneo, which the word proskuneo says to kiss the hand to one in token of reverence. It says like a dog licking his master's hand. So when you take the microchip, you will be like a dog licking his master's hand, because you would have turned towards the so-called white man for salvation. So then the Lord is going to destroy you. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Shemishai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So for those of you in America who take the microchip, you're going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire, because America is going to be destroyed by the ICBM missiles. It is all going to happen at the end of World War III, which is the War of Armageddon. World War III is going to happen over there in the so-called Middle East, which is Western Asia. America's enemies are going to launch missiles at her, as well as her allies. NATO and the EU are going to turn against America, right? America is going to be destroyed. Yahushua is going to return, deliver the elect. And then the rest of you Israelites around the four corners of the earth, in the various different countries who take the microchip, we will see what Yahushua does. But regarding those of you in America who take it, you're going to be destroyed. 2/3. Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. 1/3 shall be saved, 2/3 shall be cut off and die. So all of this is at hand, man, and the warning is going out. These are the final warnings. Okay? This is the book of Isaiah. And this is going to be my last precept. It says in Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1, "Woe to the rebellious children," talking to you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right? "Saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin." So that's what you people do. You take counsel, but not of the Lord. You take counsel of false doctrines, of false idols and false gods. which are all wickedness. So you take the counsel of wickedness, right? And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, right? Because you don't follow the ways of Yahweh Shemishai, you don't follow righteousness. So, you know, that walk to go down into Egypt. And what's the modern day Egypt? America. America is known as spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And it is out of modern day Egypt, right, our people are going to be delivered, right? And just like out of ancient Egypt, all kinds of terrible things are going to be happening before the deliverance of the Israelites. There's no new thing under the sun, man. Okay? We were delivered out of pestilence and all kinds of plagues during that time. The same thing is going to happen again. Alright? Out of this modern day captivity, the modern day Egypt and the modern day Egyptians, the modern day Pharaoh is Esau. Okay? That walk to go down into Egypt and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. So this is what you people do, man. Alright, you trust in Esau, the so-called white man, and you know, you strengthen yourselves in Pharaoh. So standing on that side is just going to lead you to your destruction, man. Alright, so once again, the overall message is to repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Alright, and once again, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kodesh, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstones. Shalom to the 144,000. The elders, shalom to the brothers, the bishops, everyone doing this, serving the Lord in truth and sincerity, and shalom to the 1/3 in America and the rest of the elect around the world, man. All right, the men, women, and children that believe. Our salvation is nearer than when we believe, as the scriptures say. Every week is hot. I can only imagine what is going to happen in this week. Shalom.